Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy, ThaLiveKing, coming at you with another podcast. And in this podcast, it's kind of personal to me because Vince Carter today announced that next season will be his last season in the NBA. And I don't know how to take it because Vince Carter has pretty much been the only player for me that I've seen from college make his way to the NBA, and up until this point, see his retirement. And as most of you probably don't know, I live in Toronto, but I also spent 3 years in North Carolina. I lived in Hope Mills, which is outside of Fayetteville, and I also lived in the Raleigh-Durham area for a little bit. I was supposed to go to college up there, but nothing wasn't going to work out, and I decided to make my way back to Toronto after I finished high school. And so Vince Carter is pretty much the only player that I've seen in college, and when I was in high school up there, I was pretty much seeing how him and Antoine Jameson was putting up nothing but highlights, throwing alley-oops from half court, and just pretty much being a spectacle throughout the whole year. And when I found out that Toronto was making a trade for Vince Carter in the draft, I was like, man, Toronto, they're not ready for that, because growing up in Toronto, there was always basketball events going on in Toronto. Like, we had the 3-on-3 tournaments. We had a lot of high school basketball here with a lot of great talent in the Ontario region, mainly the Greater Toronto area as well, especially Scarborough. They had pretty much all the talent over there, and there was a lot of talent that really never got exposure. There were some scouts from Florida State that were always in the area looking for talent, but a lot of the players that are here that wanted to make a career in basketball, they always had to go overseas. So, with them getting Vince Carter and him doing what he did with the dunks and the spectacle every night, the dunk contest, he pretty much jump-started the hype for basketball in Toronto. Not only in Toronto, but Canada as well, because a lot of people think the Raptors have bandwagon fans, but during those years when they had like early 2000s, the Raptors were selling out a lot of games. They had a crazy fan base. Like, the tickets weren't that expensive. You can go watch a Raptor game for real cheap, especially after they went into the Air Canada Centre. I'm not sure how much the tickets were at the Sky Dome or even Maple Leaf Gardens, but the tickets were pretty reasonable for basketball at the Air Canada Centre. So just to see what Vince Carter did for the city of Toronto and basketball in Canada, I feel that he should, take into consideration on playing his last season in Toronto. He's not trying to chase championships. He just wants to be the only player in the NBA to play 22 seasons. I think everybody else has played 21. Dirk, KG, and a few other players. I think Dominique Wilkins was another one. And just, come to Toronto and try to make amends for how you left. Like, I know a lot of people are upset that he left the way he did, but Rob Babcock, who was a GM at the time, rest in peace, he passed away last week or a few weeks ago. He had to make the trade. He had to make a decision on what to do with Vince Carter. It had to probably be the worst trade in NBA history. So, and the Raptors, they paid for it. But I think they've always been competitive, even though that they weren't winning a lot of games at the time. They were trying to be competitive, but with the owners that they had at the time, it's like they were adding a lot of frustrations to the players. and Vince Carter didn't know what the direction was. They traded everybody, and then they're like, okay, we got this superstar. We're just going to keep building around him. We're going to keep putting players around him for a year, and then we're going to get rid of him. Like, you can't build teams that way, and that leads to players being frustrated, and they don't want to stay here and play hard anymore. So I understood what it was at the time. A lot of people didn't, because they let their emotions, get in the way of logical thinking. But, I always loved when he came back to Toronto when he was in New Jersey, because he was going to get booed, and he played his best when he was the villain, man. Like those games where he was playing, like, they were so damn epic. I was just like, man, imagine if they would just keep a crazy team together and, try to build with a team with good chemistry. So if we had the type of, if the Raptors had the type of ownership that they have now, that was serious about winning and serious about putting a great product on the floor, Vince Carter probably would be up there in terms of every category in the Raptors. I don't think he would have left, because he loved Toronto. His mom loved Toronto. So, and he had those shocks. So he pretty much put Toronto basketball on the map. And just to see what Canadian basketball has come to now, Raptors, there was times where Raptors couldn't even get not home court, but there was times where they couldn't get their home opener on TV. Like, TSN was showing hockey. The Score at the time was showing like horse racing or something. Like, the Raptors literally came from the bottom to where they are now. And there was so much struggle between when they first started and to where they are now. A lot of people think that, like, they have bandwagon fans. I'm like, these fans been here for a long time. The fans that are probably paying the tickets in the Scotiabank Arena they're probably not the real fans, because they can afford the tickets. But when the Raptors had cheap tickets, man, it was hard to win here. It was hard to win in Toronto with those fans in there. Like, ask Mo Pete, ask Chris Bosh, ask all of those players how it was to play in Toronto with those fans. A lot of people seeing this Jurassic Park stuff now. That stuff could have existed early 2000s if they really wanted to, right? Like, when Drake was like, we started the Square stuff. They did. The Maple Leafs, they came in after, because they finally made the playoffs, and they're like, okay, we're going to put the Leaf fans out there now, right? The Raptors are pioneers in Toronto, in Canadian sports. And now they're pretty much since they're in the finals now, they're number one in sports franchise value in Toronto. I'm pretty sure the Leafs are number two, because the Leafs were sold for $2 billion or $1.5 billion or something like that. So if they want to sell the Raptors today, they could sell it for well over $2 billion. There's no other franchise in Canada that, other than the Leafs, that have that kind of value. And that's all because, they were serious about winning. We got a GM that's serious about winning. And if they would have taken the time to do this stuff years ago, we wouldn't have this problem. Like, the whole Brian Colangelo era, like, that shit was so annoying, man, because it was all favors in the front office. Like, Brian Colangelo had beef with Masai, right? Masai had a way of running the team, and Colangelo had his way of running the team, and they clashed. So Masai went to Denver, and you saw what he did, how he got rid of Carmelo, and he sent him to New York. So he pretty much made Denver a solid squad over there under his watch. So now he comes to Toronto, and they're in the finals. You give him a couple years, he's in the finals. So I really want Vince Carter to come back to Toronto and play for us one more year. The fans would love it. Everybody would be cheering. The energy would be in the building. Whatever goes on with Kawhi Leonard, I think he's going to stay. There's no way you make a finals with a team and say you're leaving. I just can't see it. See what Marc Gasol is doing. He has a player option. And just see who else can come to Toronto. Apparently, there's rumors out there, rumblings out there that Raptors are looking to get Anthony Davis too. They were actually looking last year when they were actually making the calls and stuff like that. Raptors were in the mix. I don't think people took them seriously, but when you're trying to move Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan because of all the playoff failures and stuff that was going on, you have to look at all your options. So we'll see, man. If they can somehow get Anthony Davis to play with Kawhi Leonard and keep Marc Gasol and have the players that have the depth in order to make another finals run, why not do it? Why not go all out? I mean, you guys came from the bottom and you're in the NBA Finals. The whole city is shut down. After every win, the whole city is shut down. I wish you guys could be here to see it because we haven't seen anything like this since the Blue Jays went back-to-back. TFC won it a couple years ago, but it's not the same thing. The Argos won it a few years ago. I was downtown. You could still walk the streets. You cannot walk the streets downtown Toronto after a Raptors win, especially after the Sixers win and they made it to the conference finals. The whole city is shut down. And it's something Vince Carter needs to come back to Toronto and see because he's pretty much the godfather of this. He started this. Damon Stoudemire was the beginning of it, but Vince Carter, he put Toronto basketball on the map. And for me, being someone from the city, would love to see Vince Carter finish his career in a Raptor jersey. Because if he finishes his career in a Raptor jersey and everything goes well, he's back in the community, interacting with fans and stuff like that, I personally feel they should put him up there in the rafters. Like, to me, he deserves it. Maybe not now, but for what he's done for basketball in Canada, he definitely deserves it. He's going to the Hall of Fame regardless, so it's all up to him. I hope he doesn't play for a team that I don't like watching. If he wants to go to the Warriors and chase a championship, I doubt he's going to do that, but it's up to him. But I really feel he's going to come to Toronto just to make amends and, just to give us the fans one last, give the fans one last tour, just like how D Wade had his farewell tour. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to have this podcast long. I already did another one earlier. I just wanted to get this stuff off my chest because I feel that I have to talk about it. It's something that's dear to me, and I just hope it happens. Anyways, what do you guys think about Vince Carter in his last season in the NBA coming up next year? Leave a comment down below, all that good stuff, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. Alright, I'm out. Peace.
In the zone, yeah, man, she a rider. Only see her in designer. Baddest be all you was behind her. She got the main line, you got the light car. Oh, you know my bangers from the street.